how cool it is that Black Sabbath sent you this gift. It's the 50th anniversary.
Yeah, so look, the fact that Ozzy, Tony, all of them, just they sent me this. For me as a kid growing up, Black Sabbath was probably one of the most influential bands for me. Like, the two albums that I ever got in my life first were this Black Sabbath Paranoid album and Kiss Double Platinum. And so that tells you, I think that came out 78, this came out 70. So by then it was, 7, 8 years old. It came out 71, this did in the US, so 7 years old maybe. But it very quickly for me, the first Sabbath song I ever heard was Iron Man. And for whatever reason, that song just resonated with me. Like I remember hearing a friend play it and just being like, what is that? And I have to have it. And getting this album shortly thereafter. So I was probably 7, 8 years old. So the fact that Sabbath sent this to me is mind-blowing, first of all, because this is my youth. And realistically, when you look at it and you say, well, there's Black Sabbath, and then sort of the genre of music that spun out of that was everything that my life would evolve through. So there's not a band that probably I listen to or that motivates me or that is the soundtrack to my life that wasn't, if you ask them like what was your inspiration, what got you there, that probably don't add Black Sabbath in there at the very top of their list as to what they were inspired on by how they would come to where they are. So the fact that they sent this to me is a mind blower. I feel bad even opening it up. I feel like I should keep it in the plastic wrap. I love these, these box sets to me are just, from a collector's item standpoint, the amount of stuff that's in them, they're just awesome. And something like this in an album that is so influential, but for me, I look at this and I go like the story behind it. When you live through a time in a business, like even for us here in WWE, where people ask us about little things during the time that you were doing it, and oh, this happened or that happened, and it was so influential. But for us, it was just Thursday, and in the making of this album, like there's so many things on here that I would realize later. Like I used to wonder when I was a kid, like what's with the dude with the sword and the shield on the cover? I never understood it, like the paranoid, but I didn't get the whole imagery and all that. And it wasn't until much later that it was explained to me that, like, well, the album was originally going to be War Pigs, was the name of the album, and they changed it to Paranoid because they thought it would sell better, and it was the single that they were putting out, and they thought it would sell better, but they'd already shot the artwork, so they kept the artwork the same. So it's one of those cool, back facts that you get later that's just awesome in it. These things, you get all these little pieces of history in here that are just so cool to be a part of. Of course, I can't get them out. So you got the photo book. Wow. And the history of that, right? Of just Ozzy singing it, Tony playing. It's amazing. And I can't wait to go through all this. Look at that. News clips, everything, man. Just takes you back to that time. What an awesome time in music. Changed the world. You know, there's a lot of musicians out there, a lot of people that write impressive things or do impressive stuff, but to be an original, there's nothing like this that came out, like the sort of the heaviness of it, the doom of it, it was totally different than anything else that was happening in music. And I mean, to have the guts to go down that road and to just do something completely different and see where it goes, and yeah, awesome. Posters, and you get all kinds of stuff in here. So cool. Of course, the album itself. This is exactly where I had it. I still have this somewhere. So cool. I got two. When you think about Sabbath put out two albums in 1970 as a new band, but that were game changers that would completely change music. Black Sabbath to Paranoid completely changed an entire genre of music. They put the two albums out almost in what today's time would be back to back, but they're not really, I mean, they're finished, but like when you hear these tracks of them playing these songs sometimes live and the lyrics are totally different or the arrangement is different, they weren't quite fully finished and composed, but yet they were playing them live at concerts and feeling them out with fans and getting a feel for what works and what didn't, you know, and just totally, War Pigs, there's versions of War Pigs in here that the lyrics are totally different. This album, it's also awesome for me to see like Sabbath play Royal Albert Hall, which had to be mind-blowing at the time, but knowing that we've been there and, you know, I've wrestled in Royal Albert Hall, I've brought NXT to Royal Albert Hall. It's awesome. This stuff is the soundtrack to my life. Sabbath to Ozzy to continuing with Sabbath to Motorhead to Metallica, all of it, but it all stems from this. It's amazing. Congratulations, guys. 50 years. Paranoid. Doesn't get any bigger than this.